I had this experience. I fancied myself as a little bit of a hunter, so I would go out and squirrel hunt and rabbit hunt. And I was out in the woods as I was normally out. And I went into this area that I'd never been in one particular day. And I had this feeling, I just sort of ran into it. And if you get into Bigfoot encounters, like I've documented hundreds of Bigfoot encounters at this point on my show, you'll have people have experiences where they feel like they've hit a wall. They're walking along, everything's going okay, and then they just feel like they can't go any further. That's kind of what happened to me. I felt like I hit an invisible wall, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up, the hair on my arm stood up, and I just had this feeling that I wasn't supposed to be there and that I needed to be somewhere else. I needed to be getting out of the area. But I was physically frozen. And I think I describe it in the book as I felt like my legs became wooden stakes that were driven into the ground. I literally could not move. And I heard this, it was probably 10, 12 feet away from me, but this was in North Georgia. If you've been in the Carolinas or anywhere in the Southeast, I live in North Carolina now, but in Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, in the summertime, you can go out into the woods, and this place was thick with vegetation. And just on the outskirts of my field of vision is where I was hearing these noises. And it sounded like something that was bipedal. It was walking on two legs. It sounded huge. And I could hear it walking just outside of where I could see it. And at one point it started to gruff. I heard gruffs. I heard like this huffing sound. And I was petrified. I had no idea what it was. I knew what it wasn't, though. I knew enough about the woods to know it wasn't a deer. I knew it wasn't a bear. We didn't have bear in that area. And then I heard what sounded like a bluff charge. Now, I didn't know what a bluff charge was back then, but I've studied primates and looked into gorillas and other things. If you've ever seen videos of like a silverback gorilla bluff charging people when they come into their area, that's what it sounded like in the woods, about 10 or 12 feet away from me. And it would stop just on the outskirts of where I could see past this vegetation. This happened a couple of times. It seemed like it lasted forever. It was probably literally 30 or 45 seconds. Might have been a minute, maybe 2 minutes. And then all of a sudden, fight or flight kicked in, and I switched from complete stuck in the ground, couldn't move, to flight. And something clicked in my brain and said, you got to get the hell out of here.